So what if I tell you that you can completely eliminate interviews from your recruitment process? I'm saying hire frontline workers without any interviews. So let's get over that initial reaction. What are you thinking, Lemise? Are you nuts? Well, in today's webinar, I have two first-time guests who will share with us how they did exactly that and successfully. Please allow me to introduce our speakers. Steven Rivard, co-founder and managing partner of Learning Branch. He's joining us from Montreal, Canada. And I would like to ask Steve to take a minute and introduce himself.
Thanks, Lemise. We're excited to be here, and good afternoon to all of you out there, and good morning, depending where you are. I've been in the educational technology assessment and training industry for over 20 years. And what we do is we help customers move to a no interview hire. And the motivation for this is really trying to improve performance and cut costs and automate the process as quickly as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Steven, and welcome. And maybe if you want to forward your slide to our speaker slides.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, let me do that.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you. And Learning Branch is new to the RPOA. They joined the association as a technology partner last year, and I am very pleased to welcome them to our program. Secondly, Sarah Wise. She's Operations Director for Fundraising Direct. Sarah is joining us from the UK, and she has rather an unusual work background. I should also have to say she is the only guest I've ever had in this program, and I have been hosting this program for 10 years, who does not have a LinkedIn page. Very unusual in the recruiting world. But Sarah, tell us about yourself, please.
Thanks, Lemise. Nice to meet all of you, and thank you for having me here today. There is a good reason why I don't have a LinkedIn page. I have a background in law. I have an undergraduate law degree and also a legal master's in international development law and human rights, both from UK universities. I do a plethora of pro bono work for many organisations, which means that I don't like to be too visible, whether that's on social media or LinkedIn. I do get the occasional death threat, believe it or not. We've had that at the moment. I currently do defence and mitigation for death penalty cases for a non-for-profit organisation named Reprieve. Now, Reprieve works in Guantanamo Bay, secret prisons throughout the world, and also Death Row America. So the Louisiana Capital Assistance Center in New Orleans, which is where I currently work out of doing pro bono work, is something that we like to keep rather discreet. So that's why I'm not too visible on LinkedIn or elsewhere. And as Lemise said, as you can probably gauge from my accent, I am in the UK, so I have time during the day to do pro bono work and directorship stuff in the evening, so it works out rather well.
Awesome. Welcome, Sarah. We're thrilled to have you. All right, with that, I do want to get started, and Steven, if you want to take it away.
Thanks, Lemise. So we'll start with the context, and I think Sarah's going to talk a little bit about Fundraising Direct.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So Fundraising Direct works for many non-for-profit organisations and charities, which is obviously very much in line with my passion for human rights. You can see at the bottom of this slide just how many different organisations that we work for. We've grown rather rapidly in terms of the number of employees that we have over the last year or so, which we'll talk about later. But one of the missions that we have is to really stress the stewardship aspect of fundraising in the industry. And what we mean by that is that we refer to our supporters as supporters rather than clients. We want to be really nourish and produce a positive relationship that all of our clients have with their supporter base. So not every fundraising call that we make has to result in a financial success. It's about the stewardship aspect of that call. So working and nourishing the relationship and the image of the charity, and certainly communicating its mission statement to the supporter base writ large, which you can appreciate for large NGOs such as the Red Cross or Médecins Sans Frontières, particularly in both UN organisations that we work for. That can be difficult to do. Of course, we live in a very fast-paced, changing world. So we really are trying to drive the progress and change whilst maintaining that quality of the relationship with our supporters and the clients whom we work on behalf of.
Great. So do we want to answer? So Lemez, we have a question already. Do we want to answer at the same time or at the end?
It's up to you.
Yeah, well, maybe I think the answer will be answered through a presentation, so we'll get to it at the end. So I think the next step, what we'll do is we like to launch a poll of people, and the question is, what's your average time to screen, interview, and hire for the positions you're posting at? And I guess the case study really focuses on frontline employees. So you want to launch the poll to see what is your average time to hire. So from the results, we can see the majority of participants. So we're looking at 15 more days. And I guess this is really dependent on the kind of roles you're hiring for. So thank you very much. We're going to get back to how long it takes for Fundraising Direct to hire somebody in a few minutes. You want to share those results now, Lemez?
Sorry, I thought they were on the screen. Were you able to see them?
I don't know how this works, so I'll let you know. It's okay.
I don't know. I can see them again.
I'm all new to Zoom. So we'll go on to the problem slides. I guess in 2019, Fundraising Direct the CEO approached me. We walk our dogs together, and I was trying to convince him that we had a better way to hire, and he had a good idea that he wanted a better way to hire. So, Sarah, you want to describe your problem?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Stefan. Very particular to fundraising. Of course, we need to ensure the quality of our candidate in terms of rapport, in terms of negotiation skills. So historically, what we would do once we'd sort of done the initial screening through resumes, would invite everyone to attend the office for a group assessment, which enabled us to gauge them and their verbal skills, which we would disguise through sort of a few methods, whether that was reading directly from a mock script with the Red Cross, their ability to retain statistics, and essentially go off script, which is often frequently required of the role. That was incredibly time consuming in itself. And then, of course, when the pandemic hit, we had to attempt to gauge the quality remotely. And the only way that we were able to do that was to have one-on-one interviews. So our time to hire was 10 to 14 days, I have to say, minimum. And then we did have some retention issues with that, even so. But because of the volatile environment that we were trying to fundraise within, of course, all face-to-face fundraising ceased during the pandemic, which meant that our workload in terms of what our clients were able to guarantee us, a third-party agency, meant that our hiring spikes were up and down so rapidly. Which meant that we were chasing our tails, essentially, in terms of trying to get volume onto the phones quickly, which you can imagine negatively impacted upon results, and our retention wasn't where it needed to be. So inconsistent hires became an issue, which negatively impacted upon on our performance as well. Yeah, and I guess the interviews made it difficult to gauge communication skills and quality of hire. Absolutely.
So let me see. Yeah. So at that point, I presented Graham the learning branch approach, and what we do is not your usual assessment tool. So what we offer them is an assessment tool, and you're probably familiar with language assessments that try to gauge communication skills, or behavioral, psychometric, cognitive assessments, which are more based about multiple choice questions. What we did with our learning branch is that it's really a 4-in-1 AI-driven assessment. And what we do is that we evaluate all the skills of that candidate, which includes spoken, open-ended questions. We evaluate their ability, employability, quality of their work, attention to detail, their ability to multitask, among other different skills. And more importantly, what makes us a bit unique is that we also evaluate their soft skills, which are key in finding successful employees. A lot of people mention to me, you know, we hire for hard skills, we fire for soft skills. The Learning Branch assessment tool really tries to blend both together. So the way that the tool worked and what we did with Fundraising Direct is that you have these candidates who are applying directly from Indeed. So you'll have a job posting on Indeed, and along with forwarding your CV, you have to do the assessment at the first stage. And the way the assessment works is that it takes about 30 minutes to complete. And the assessment will run those candidates through a simulated job. So it's really like doing the actual fundraiser's job for 30 minutes. In that scenario, you'll be presented with questions or typical authentic scenarios, and you have to respond to the best of your ability, either spoken. In Fundraising Direct, this is really the most important skill, but with other candidates, you can actually do writing skills for chat or email. And after this process, what we do is that we will actually suggest the ideal candidate according to the benchmark that we've created and the metrics established. So this is how the process works. So the initial steps that we did with Fundraising Direct is that the first step is that we tried to estimate what the critical employability attributes of those employees are. We then created a pre-hire assessment to try to capture those. So to do that, what we did is we assessed their existing employees with our assessment, and that assessment was a bit longer. And within that, we evaluated all the different abilities and skills of those employees. We then correlated those skills with Fundraising Direct's core KPIs. And from that, we were able to extract the most important ones that led to successful conversations or successful fundraising. And those two skills for this client was really conversational fluency, which we evaluate really well. And the other one is the ability to build rapport. So ability to build rapport is one of the key skills. And what we did was that we took those benchmarks and then we turned that back into our AI engine and created a special assessment for them. Now, how does the assessment work? So here's just one of the screens that we have from our assessment. It's a fully online solution, and candidates can do this on their mobile phones from any device. And they're really presented different scenarios for about 25 minutes that have to respond. It's a critical assessment, so that means that everything is timed. They either look at a picture, listen to an audio file, so you can see over here, there's a typical conversation of a dialogue and an agent, and it will give them hints of what they were looking for, and they have to respond within a certain time frame. And they're going to be given a whole bunch of different of these within the 25 minutes. Some of the benefits of what we're doing. Well, the first one is really what we've noticed, that it gives the candidate a preview of the job. So a lot of times people apply for a position and they haven't really, a vague idea of what the actual work is. In this scenario here, it actually gives them a very accurate idea of what kind of work, what kind of things they'll be doing. And the benefit is that we will see candidates dropping off the assessment halfway. And from our studies, we've done is that we've realized that these candidates are not really interested in the job. So that's the number one. It screens candidates, the first one. The other thing it does, it evaluates the communication skills consistently in an unbiased way. So we don't do intonation. We don't evaluate accents. What we evaluate is really all the skills of the candidate that make conversations successful. And they're authentic scenarios, which is really interesting, which is very important for what we're trying to do. And the last thing is that the results really are in real time. As soon as that candidate is complete, Fundraising Direct has a dashboard, and they can see, I just gotta let my dog out. They can see, working from home, they can see who is successful immediately. So, and from there, what we did is that we also have integrated into our platform, which is not really part of recruitment, but I think it's also an important part, is that we help them redesign their training programs and convert into our platform. So allows those employees to skill up and really focus on those conversational fluency and ability to build rapport. Fundraising Direct was already had a great training program, but it was only in class. And with the pandemic hit, this was really limited. They've now moved to the whole process online, so which is quite interesting and very efficient. The benefits of using this approach. So some of the things that you want to talk to, Sarah, but some of the results that we've gotten from using this approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So, first of all, the targets are fantastic. We do, like I alluded to earlier about stewardship fundraising is our focus. But of course, we do also need to ensure that we are performing well for our clients. And because we can guarantee the quality from the minute we have new candidates hitting the phones, so many of our new hires are surpassing the campaign targets, which is fantastic. If you could go on to the next slide, Stefan, as I walk through, that would be great. In terms of the pledges, that has increased by 10%. That's also a very important aspect, so that's good to see. You can appreciate as well before when I spoke to the spikes in recruitment, when we have so many new people hitting the phones, usually we'd see results drop off, not improve. That's the complete opposite since working with Learning Branch, which has been fantastic. Next slide, please, Stefan.
Reduce staff by 1.5 full-time employees?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so we've not just because, I mean, of course, we don't have the physical confines of the office anymore. So we have massively increased our team in terms of numbers, but we've retained that quality. Again, we're able to do that because we absolutely know the quality before they even go into training, never mind hit the call floor in terms of actually getting and going live on the phone. So that's fantastic. We just know that in terms of retention, that we're finding the right people the first time round. We've massively saved time. Of course, time is precious not only to myself, but to the bottom line for the company. So being able to reduce that time to hire from 14 to 15 days to 1 to 2 is an invaluable statistic, and one that's benefited, massively benefited the company.
And if I can add, the thing that surprised me when Sarah was sharing this to me is that reduced time to hire from 1 to 2 days, what she was telling me, by 48 hours, they're actually in the training program. So it's not only hiring within 48 hours, but in training within 48 hours, which I asked her about 3 times to make sure to confirm it.
You did, and it's true, and it's great. It saved us so much time, and that's mainly owing to the ability to be able to gauge the rapport and to have those language tests that we can no longer carry out in person. So yeah, more applicants, they come straight through Indeed. We have improved retention because the quality is there.
Yeah, and just to add, there is a star next to this. It's not something that we have lots of metrics that we know we've improved with our large clients. So for example, one of our Fortune 500 online retailer that we work with, we've reduced the bad hire rate by 93%. And this is, a very tangible number. The more applicants and improved retention, we have some ideas. We were doing studies on it. The more applicants is probably the one that surprises us over and over again from all our clients, is that from what the research that we've read is that applicants like this approach because they feel that they're getting a fair shake. So everyone goes through the application, which is the online assessment, and it really just evaluates their skills. It's when you're looking at diversity and inclusion, this approach, and from the studies, that this is probably the reason why there are more applicants than before. And improved retention, well, we believe that because of you're getting a preview of the job, it weeds out a lot of those candidates that realize that the job is not for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the fact that as opposed to just sending across a resume and potentially being invited to interview, it could arguably be the case that if somebody's willing to sit there and actually go through the assessment, they're more keen and dedicated to actually pursuing the role. So yes, we do have good confidence in our new hires for those reasons, definitely. Yeah.
And what you've said to me many times, best of all, we have confidence in our hires. And I think you mentioned that, the candidates are coming through have really strong soft skills. Yeah. This is, over and over again from our clients, this is really the confidence in our hires because of using a standardized assessment process. Mm-hmm. That really puts everyone on a level playing field. And do you want to talk a little bit about that? I think that.
No, absolutely. I think that it's people always appreciate that it is a level playing field that they're applying to and on. They're quite invisible to us apart from the voice recordings and the assessment that they fill out. But that coupled with their resume does gives us an insight into their personality, essentially. And that's incredibly important in fundraising. They need to connect with people. So that's what we need to be confident in, their ability to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we have a question that I think plays to this, from Freddie Mayhell. In a very tight market where qualified candidates have multiple opportunities available to any given time, does the percentage drop off? You mentioned only compound a quantity issue most employers are facing. So I think one of the opportunities is that you're finding candidates with the right skills, because we can job match the platform with what we have, and you can make them an offer immediately. I think time to hire is probably the most critical factor. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Sarah, to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's time to hire that's the most critical. We've never struggled for volume of applications that come through Indeed, where the time saver has been on us on being able to quickly assess the quality rather than struggling to get the quantity through the door.
Yeah, so what percentage of candidates don't start the assessment? It varies. We operate around the world. So we operate in Europe, the Philippines, India, North America. That number will vary, but typically we see about 15 to 20% don't start the assessment, which is a bit surprising. The percentage that don't complete it will vary again, but you're probably going to lose maybe 10%. But by the time that someone spends, especially the ones like for fundraising direct, the assessment tends to be quite short. It's only about 20, 25 minutes, but we have other ones that are 45 minutes. We know that if candidates do well with this assessment, they will go on and do well with the job. So yeah. And the thing is that once they pass the assessment, there are no more steps. So, the only step left is you get selected and you get training. So compared to using interview and assessment, a cognitive assessment, where you're losing lots of different candidates, I think it's about 40 to 50% per stage. In our process, you're only doing that at the beginning. Does a lack of human interaction with the organization impact your acceptance rate as a candidate? So, Sarah, you want to talk to that?
Yeah, sure. Not really, Heather. No, I mean, even prior to using Learning Branch, the level of human interaction wouldn't really take place until we invited them to attend a group assessment on site anyway. And because it's only a 1 to 2 day turnaround from point of application to when we invite them to IT system testing, we've made sure that we're very warm in all email communications in that 1 to 2 day interim until we are interacting with them in person anyway. Yeah. So that hasn't, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is about, you mentioned is that the assessment actually gives you an idea of the culture of the company, because it can be customized to your organization and to your requirements. So therefore, you will have the candidate will have a good idea what you stand for, the values, the mission of your company. So that's another important factor that we forget to mention.
Yep.
No open questions.
Okay.
So I'm going to finish with my last slide. So for this project, which I go back and forth with Sarah quite a bit, but as we mentioned, they have a 90% interview model, but I think you mentioned to me before, they haven't interviewed anybody since October. They're using it the other important thing is that they're using it as a virtual recruiter. So before, when you had to scale up, you had to hire part-time recruiters to help you hire people. They're using a tool as actually a virtual recruiter. So it's actually doing that job to really screen those candidates for their first, pledges have increased. And more importantly, Sarah keeps on telling me she has the gift of time to do her pro bono work. So, which everyone always needs more time. And the last point I want to point out here is the ROI on the project. We've calculated internally at 317%, but we think that it's much higher, and Sarah won't agree to it, but we think it's much higher. We have other projects and we see these numbers at 300, 400, 500%. These are pure numbers of bad hire costs, talking about time to hire, the cost of hiring. So it's really a cost-effective, quick implementation and of what you can do next. So I think that completes. Any more questions?
All right. I guess, Stefan, I don't know if you guys were able to see the results of the poll, but I'm going to share them one more time just to close the loop and see. When we started and we asked the participants about what is your average time to hire. So the majority said more than 15 days, probably similar to Sarah's experience. It's been a long time to hire. And I guess we saw in really a good use case for how, with the help of technology, you're able to reduce that to 1 to 2 days, which is remarkable.
Yeah, and I guess the question is, what we're proposing is an online solution that helps organizations such as yours hire quicker, hire for higher quality, especially when you have projects that have to scale up. We are working with some RPOAs, some really interesting projects, and the early metrics have proven very interesting. So yeah. The other contract, no one from hiring organizations has got any F2F contact before making an offer. No one from hiring face-to-face, yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't at the moment do that, and it doesn't seem to be having a negative impact. Arguably, we may not know if it is having a negative impact, not having any face-to-face. But again, we didn't really have that face-to-face contact until they were invited to interview anyway, when we were working on site. So because we are having that face-to-face contact within 1 to 2 days anyway now, rather than sort of 14 to 15, no, there's no interviews in place at all. If they achieve higher than 80% on the learning branch assessment, they are put straight through to IT system testing and training onto our systems.
And we work with one of the largest corporations in the world. They use our platform around the world in multiple languages, and they are the same thing. They no longer do face-to-face. And we work with another large corporation that does BPO and contact center customer service support for large American corporations. They will do an operational interview once they're hired. So no face-to-face interviews prior to being hired. It's important to mention that these are skills, these are candidates that are dealing with customers. So it's really a tool for customer facing or client facing. So where soft skills are extremely important. It's not for, we have talked about doing further fields, but that's really the focus at this time.
Very good. And talking about time, we are at the end of our time, unfortunately, but definitely enjoyed having both of you, Sarah and Stefan. Thank you so much. It's been a very informative and really strong use case for the performance of AI technology and recruitment optimization. Now, I do have quick announcements. I know almost half of our audience is first timers, so I do want to take a minute and share a couple of announcements. And I'm going to take over screen from Stefan here and move into just quickly to tell you about the Recruitment Process Outsourcing Association. We are a member-driven and mission-driven organization serving the global RPO ecosystem and striving to be the place to go for RPO. Our mission is to nurture a collaborative community where thought leadership can be created and curated to educate the marketplace about RPO. And we do serve a mixed audience of RPO enthusiasts. That includes RPO providers, buyers, academics, consultants, and so forth. We do produce quality content in collaboration with corporate members and sponsors. Our content is focused on talent acquisition trends and best practices for the RPO community. And we host active blogs, produce monthly newsletter, and offer many free resources and webinars. The RPO Leadership Forum is a monthly webinar series scheduled for the third Tuesday of each month. Today's webinar is part of that series. We changed the schedule a bit this month, but it is a 30-minute format, and it is presented by RPOA members on educational RPO-related content. Next month, we are pleased to welcome back Pam Verhoff and John Hess with Advanced RPO to talk about the true financial impact of unfilled jobs. And registration is currently open. You can find upcoming events on the RPOA website, as well as webinar recordings and other resources. Next month, in honor of Women History Month, we are celebrating women in the RPO industry with 2 awards. Nominations are open through February 28th. So if you know someone you like to nominate, head over to the RPOA website and make your nomination soon. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Please stay connected, stay engaged, and stay informed of what's happening in the talent and RPO world by tuning into the RPOA, the place to go for RPO. Lastly, I do want to thank all participants, and I do want to thank our guest speakers, Sarah Wise and Stefan Ribard. Stefan, if people want to contact you, you want to drop your contact information maybe in the chat panel? We did not have a contact information. Or we can put that in the follow-up email. So you should all receive a follow-up email with the link to the recording, and we'll have contact information for Learning Branch.
That would be good. Thank you very much, Lamez. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Stefan.
All right.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
everyone.
everyone. Nice to see you.